Hey everyone, just was taking a short walk in Reed Park today and reflecting on some of the documents we received from the government. These are actually documents that were received as part of a previous Freedom of Information request, but they were heavily redacted. And now we have new versions of them that aren't redacted, and they're very telling. So let's jump right into the documents. We see things in our documentation start on August 22nd with an internal email. Now, this email was provided originally, but in the red square was previously redacted, and it's the name Michelle Beveridge. So it raises some questions as to why the provincial government felt it needed to redact her name. Now, things are going to escalate with the phone call with Doug, as we'll see in our next document. It's at this point that we see the concern about licensing the special care home and permits possibly requiring public consultation. And these documents that were previously redacted now shed a light on how the licensing of the special care home being a legal requirement and the evident efforts being made to evade public consultation into opening this shelter. For the purpose of this video today, we're just focusing on the legal issue here regarding this facility. What is important to note, though, is that this shelter is fully funded and operated as a shelter by social services, and it always has been since the case had opened. And the necessity to label it as a special care home is to meet the zoning bylaw requirements and prevent a rezoning appeal, which would require public notice. Now, this conversation was followed up with an official email. And then on August 24th, we see another internal email, and we see that the mayor's chief of staff is once again the point person, not the city's planning department. We can see a letter was in process, and the province hoped that the letter would provide what is needed to proceed. This letter is one of the documents I provided at a press conference several weeks ago, and it proved the city was the determining factor in declaring it to be a special care home. But then it also must have been done so with agreement from the Saskatoon Tribal Council. But take note of the handwritten point in the lower right about service contract discussions and potentially decreasing the beds to 28. Even at this point, the province is thinking a much lower number of beds for the service contract. So why did this proceed with a huge 106 beds in a residential community? And then we clearly see, just the next day on August 25th, the letter was sent from Michelle Beveridge to the minister on behalf of the city's planning department. On August 26th, we see another internal email where the decision has been made to collude with the city and allow them to redefine something provincial law has already defined. Sean Burnett has good reason to be concerned because Saskatoon's zoning bylaws are detailed in terms of zoning and appropriate property use. So for example, when this shelter was originally downtown, it was operating legally on the property that is zoned for shelter use. The property at Fairmont does not have that zoning, but it does for a special care home. Now, as well, it's pretty clear Sean Burnett must have some understanding of provincial laws, and both the province and the city should have taken his concern to heart. There are several provincial acts and mandatory guidelines for special care homes, and the Cities Act requires every city to abide by provincial law. For example, in the faculty designation regulations, Section 12 specifically deals with special care homes in the province and what they may do, and Sections 13 and 14 detail all such facilities must be licensed, listed in the Saskatchewan Gazette, and that it cannot operate without such license. So we have some questions to ask, like why did the concerns of several provincial officials go unheeded regarding the need for public consultations and especially the licensing of a special care home? Why was the service contract not done for 28 beds as we see in these documents, but instead ended up at 106 beds in a residential community? Why did the government make so many obvious attempts to hide the name of Michelle Beveridge, the mayor's chief of staff? And how can it be that for over 20 months, this shelter is allowed to continue to operate after all the crime, damage, and the escalation of serious public health and safety issues in the community? So here we are, 20 months later, and this is what we have. We have a 106-bed shelter, still operating, still no changes made, despite many attempts by us for over a year requesting to have a 30-bed safe and responsible shelter in our community. It's just gotten so out of hand, it's ridiculous. And all these documents leave so many unanswered questions. I want to encourage everybody, please, today, write the Premier, write the Minister of Social Services, and demand a full investigation into how this took place. We deserve answers. And take care out there.